Testing audio. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. Going back. You know, that's okay. One. There you go. It's the other one.
So you have another one?
No, I just want to make sure that he was the final revival that I did for him.
Okay, so that's separate from this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Which one is this one? Mr. Which one is it? The part, your part. No, yours.
It's in this one. This file, and it's in this no, this one, the April.
to call this meeting to order. This is the building committee meeting, and it's approximately 5:36 p.m. Pledge of allegiance. Sorry, call me. I mean the roll call.
We're going to do the pledge of allegiance and the prayer.
Sorry.
Loving and gracious God, you are indeed the giver of all good gifts, and we thank you today for all your blessings, for the successful outcomes of our college events, and for all of our faculty, staff, and most importantly, our students. We ask that you bless them abundantly, and we continue to seek your wisdom, your guidance, your courage, and your strength. Be with us in our deliberations and help us to be wise in the decisions that we make for the good of all those who have placed their trust and confidence in our leadership. All glory be to you. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam President.
Esteban Rangel,
Present.
Lupita Cepeda, present. Mercurio Martinez, Jr., Jorge J.D. Delgado.
Present.
Mr. Rangel, you do have a quorum.
Thank you. Item number 3, update on current projects and future construction projects by Mr. Romero Pais.
Good evening, board members. Today we are bringing you an update on the Laredo College construction projects for phase 3. Today is April 29th, 2021. So we have a number of projects that we're currently working on right now. And typically this is a program phases that take place when we get ready to do our different construction projects. So we first assess the needs and the budget set aside for the jobs. We go into the programming and then to the design, and that's coordination with ourselves, Laredo College, and the architect of the firm that has been awarded the particular jobs. In this case, we will be talking about mainly Able City, which is Frank Architects and Mario Peña. So after we have the program and get into design, we eventually get into a cost estimate. We submit the plans to the CMAR contractor, and he has a certain time frame. And at a certain point, we reach a guaranteed maximum price that will be presented to the board. And then, of course, we go into the phase of the actual construction and building of these different projects that we'll be discussing today. Okay, as you recall, Laredo College roofing project. This project was currently recently brought to you all and approved. We will be working on the roofs at the South Campus. We have a list of the different buildings that will be worked on under the South Campus list. Where we have the Williams and Billy Hall Student Center that we have done some work on already. We have just minimal items to attend to, and also the large breezeways that connect to Billy Hall that will be worked on as well. We will be also doing work on the Judas Zapparini Library, the Academic Advanced Technology Center, Camilo Parada Child Development Center, the Raquel Gonzalez Automotive Technology Center, and the Congress Henry Cuellar Protective Service Center, and the J.C. Trevino Fitness Center. Along with this work, we will also be working on one particular building here at the main campus of Fort McIntosh, and it's right behind us on the east side of us. and that is a bookstore facility. This project has been awarded to the American contractors in joint venture with Tremco Roofing Products that will ultimately give us a 20-year warranty. This project is based on a $3.8 million award contract, and the time frame for construction is estimated at 12 months. We will work diligently and hard to try to finish sooner, permitting that we get good weather during the different phases on the different buildings. This is a little map site plan for the South Campus. Apologize if it's a little blurry. It shows a little blurry on my monitor here. But you can see buildings A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Building A is Billy Hall. We've done some work, like I mentioned, and we have minimal items to finish up on Billy Hall, and then we'll be moving on to the remainder of the buildings. On the far right is the new facility, the Health Science Center, and the improvements that took place with that particular job here recently. Another project that we're currently working on right now is the Laredo College South Campus commercial truck driving pad. This project has been awarded to Able City Architects firm. We are currently under design, and eventually we'll move into construction documents. We keep in touch with them daily on the progress. We have gotten some preliminary plans already in hand to go ahead and review with the end users and ourselves. We have an estimated budget of $850,000 for this project. We are going to be adding perimeter lighting for the pad, which may affect the price, but we'll wait for our GMP to come in to see where we come out at. This project is based on 4 to 6 months of construction time, and that time will go ahead and start once the contract has been awarded to the contractor. This is a CMAR project. We will have a GMP price given to us by Lander Construction, and we'll be bringing it to the board once we have that final number for approval. Here on your monitor, you'll see that we have some drawings that are being developed right now. On the far left is the new proposed truck driving pad with a little bit more details. We just finished getting this drawing on Friday. We uploaded it today, and it shows you a little bit of the truck diagrams on the actual pad and some of the diagrams that they use to go ahead and do their testing during the course before they go to DPS to do their final exam. On the right-hand side, it's a kind of a joint image, but this is some of the improvements that we'll be doing for auto collision and diesel mechanic that we'll talk about a little bit more here. So another project that we have going on, also being worked on right now, is the diesel shop and the auto collision center expansion. This project has been awarded to Able City Architects. We are currently under programming and design phase, and we'll be moving into construction documents after we have a final approval on the layout of the particular expansions. We do have a $2.3 million budget on this project. We have a time frame of 12 months once the contract has been awarded to the contractor. This is a CMAR project. We will be coming to you for a GMP approval once we get that number from Lander Construction of Texas. Here, I brought you all a diagram of the different expansions. If you all can follow my cursor, you all can see that. Up here in the far upper left-hand corner is the expansion. We have the men's and women's restrooms with dressing areas. Right behind that is an expansion for a tool supply storage, equipment storage area. They particularly have, right now they do have an existing storage area, but it's very small. So we're expanding their storage area for the different tools and different equipment that they need to be secured at the end of the day. Just most likely, probably because of the value. They tend not to leave this equipment out in the open. Then we're adding these bays down here. So we have 5 new bays for trucks to drive in. We have a double door for pedestrian entrance and exit. Down here at the end of that expansion, we have a single door, man door to exit the building also in case the overhead doors are closed. This particular yard right now exists along with this. We're enclosing this area to expand the auto collision center. This expansion is being done to allow the students to work indoors instead of working out in sunlight when they're working on different parts before they take it into the actual shop to work a little bit further to add paint or whatever they may do to finish their work. We do have 2 existing bays down here. One of them right now is for metal welding, and we will be adding a aluminum welding because they do work now with aluminum. So we'll have 2 different bays. They do need to be separated. So the metal one will remain, and we'll be adding the aluminum. This small storage area will be used for any of the supplies that they may need to store as well.
Mr. President,
yes.
Really quick on the middle part, what would be the use, or why wouldn't we use?
What area is that?
The middle part.
This area here?
Yeah.
They currently use that right now to park different vehicles that are being worked on, different projects that are going on. They have a container with tools out there in different parts. They have the recycle oil tank out there as well. But it's mainly used for circulation to get around the building to the different bays that currently exist up here. So we will still be using it. It's a very large area. So we're not making a huge impact by enclosing this area for auto collision. So this will remain. We are adding this great shaded area as an open area as well. Currently, they have their recycled oil container out here in the open. So what we're doing is we're going to be bringing it down here and tucking it away from any traffic, just for safety matters, along with any other items that they may want to store out of the way of traffic. This driveway here currently exists, and we're adding this quick 3-bay quick lane service for tractor trailers as well. 2 of them will have pits, so the students will be able to service them underneath. Kind of like when you go to Jiffy Lube and change oil, everything kind of goes on underneath your car. So this will have basically the same type of service. We're expecting more development in this area. We still do not show the stair going down to the pit, but that will eventually come as we move into further drawings.
Sorry, project. The funding for this project comes from where?
It's being funded by Phase 3. The bond, Phase 3 bond.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Where exactly in the South Campus is this located?
It's located right now. If you orient yourself on the campus, it's on the west side of the campus, right next to, adjacent to the athletic fields.
Okay.
There's kind of a parking lot and a driveway that run along the west side of the campus.
Mm-hmm.
That's auto mechanics, the diesel shop, and auto collision. They're kind of housed in the same building right now.
Okay. So it's where the trailers are parked outside.
Yeah.
Old trailers, you work on.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So currently we do have this driveway as well that exists, and we're taking up a little bit of it, and we'll be relocating the rolling gate that they do have right now, and we're doing that to save ourselves some money as well. So I've asked the architect to go ahead and label it as to be reused and update or anything that with new rollers, but those gates are pretty expensive, and I want to go ahead and reuse them. So they've been given instructions to put that note on their construction documents. Okay, this project, here at Fort McIntosh, I know that you're all probably aware of the law enforcement training center that we've been talking about. This has undertaken a lot of planning and coordination with the Border Patrol and Homeland Security. Currently, we're under a phase 1 that has already been going on. That's a signed short-term lease with Border Patrol. There was no construction needed for that. They are currently using facilities and spaces that currently exist on the campus. Once we go into a phase 2, that is currently being worked on, and this is a long-term lease with Homeland Security, and I'm sure Border Patrol are included in that package. That project will consist of renovations to the Lopez Nursing and the Ruben Garcia Allied Health Building. The construction and the scope is still pending, and that's going to be based on their needs and assessment of what they'll take to go ahead and have them operate in those buildings. We do have a $1.2 million allocation from Facility Master Plan Phase 2 for that particular building.
Chair, just allow me. Yeah, thank you. At this time, if you please excuse me, I don't think it's time to get into this detail. We're not there yet for phase 2 and 3, because we're still on the legal discussions with them. So these numbers here are really very preliminary and so very rough. So we're not there yet. So if you allow, because of right now would be inaccurate. It's very far from it. And we just finished phase 1, which is a classroom in an existing building on the far end of the building.
On phase 1, how much did we spend?
Nothing. No, phase 1 is just the use of an existing classroom. The Border Patrol is about to start that for a classroom. That's where the nursing class was, one classroom in the far corner. So that just to get them started, and they're paying us a lease, and we got the legal documents already for a classroom.
Okay. This is just again, just a schematic drawing for the facility. It's nothing definite yet. So 2 other projects that are also on phase 3 construction is the security safety project. That contract is pending to be awarded. We're still undergoing programming and design for the facility cameras and the locations of each camera. There is an estimated budget of $750,000, and that is bond money in phase 3. The construction time frame will be all depending on the number of cameras and the locations and the scope, the final scope of work. There will be camera licenses that will be required, upgrading on switches and data cabling, data storage equipment, and surveillance monitors included in this scope of work for this project. The project on the bottom is a fiber infrastructure project. This project is also pending to be awarded. Currently, there is still programming and design work going on. We do have an estimated budget of 1.5. This is also bond money on phase 3. Construction timeframe is pending, depending on the scope of work. In phase 1 of the project, we will relocate the D-Mark, currently located at the Echiga building, and it will come over to the Martin building. On phase 2, we will be sending out 10 gig fiber backbone service to particular buildings that do not have that service right now. During the water project that was completed recently with physical plant, we did include 2 4-inch conduits roughed in on the same service line right above the water line up to one side to be able to send in this fiber line. So has been a little bit of work done on this project. We also did include some rough in on some pool boxes that are usually roughed in at any intersection where we need to enter into a particular building.
Sure, really quick.
Yes,
You mentioned already in a couple of slides that you're pending to award project. Why are we pending? Is it because of procurement process, or what?
We're still working on gathering information. We don't have a definite particular company that we have in mind to award project as of yet. So we're gathering all the needs and assessing all the needs on these particular projects. And at that time, then it turns out that it is a co-op or a buy board quote from a particular company that is certified. We will then sit down and give them and work with them to get to a final construction number.
By when do you think you're projecting to put these out there?
This has been going on. It's in progress. I'm hoping here, Mr. Ramon's not here, but I think we do have enough information already in our hands. So I think we can probably bring it here to you within 60 to 90 days with a definite number. We do want to move on these projects because they have been on our schedule for a while, and we do need to jump on them and get them done.
On the 10 gig of fiber, will that accommodate all the buildings that do not have fiber and give us room to grow, or?
This will accommodate the facilities that do not have that service right now.
And will it give us room to grow, or we're just going to max it out?
We're probably going to have a space to grow in it because it is 10 gig compared to what we have now. So it is quite a bit of an upgrade compared to what we have right now. So that's my presentation. If you all have any questions, we can go ahead.
I have a question.
Yeah.
On the projects, do we go out for bids on architectural and construction, or we automatically just assign to the ones that are on that have been committed?
Good afternoon, Cesar Vela, VP of Finance for the record. Yes, ma'am. We actually issued out a request for qualifications for phase 3. So we currently have this firm under contract right now as part of phase 3, as well as a CMAR that's also under contract for phase 3. And again,
and that's because it's bond money? So
yeah,
we have to have somebody assigned to it?
Yeah, we like I mentioned, we issued requests for qualifications for architect firms, and obviously we had a group of firms submit their qualifications. The board awarded contracts to those firms. So those are the firms that are currently under contract for phase 3. And then we have the CMAR. We issued out a request for proposals, and again, Line Decker Construction is our CMAR for phase 3 of the contract.
And this is through when?
Through the end of the bond facilities master plan phase 3 contract.
Which would be what next? Yes. Okay. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Madam Chair, and board members, Dr. Lee. So when the bond monies were approved to be spent by the voters, the Board of Trustees initiated the procurement process to secure a contractor that could construct all of the projects under phase 3 of the facilities master plan. And there were several contractors that responded. Eventually, the board chose Line Decker Construction. And that was done pursuant to board policy, and there's a statute that requires a certain procedure. Same thing was done for the architects. At the time, the Board of Trustees had selected 4 different architectural firms to be assigned certain projects, and I believe since then that the authority was granted to the college president to make the assignment. So if there's another project that comes up in phase 3, the college president makes that assignment. And it was 4 architects who were initially
4 architectural firms.
Yes, it's Sepulveda, Back then, Kiki Peña, who has now merged with Frank Architects, which is now Able Seating, and Cavazos is the other firm.
You know, swinging a little bit on what Mr. Bell is saying, do we have a time frame on phase 3 on when we need to spend these bond money?
Right now, I believe we're in year 6, or we issued this bond in 2014. So actually, we're entering year 7.
So when do we need to spend it?
Per se, the time frame should be around 5 years again, but we've exceeded that. Obviously, there were certain circumstances that were outside our control. At this point, like I said, the presentation that you're seeing here will take care of almost the remaining balance, which is around 23 million.
I mean, that's a huge concern if we're already a year and we're probably going into the 7th year, you know, and I understand COVID, you know, probably took a huge 1 year, you know, into that, but it's kind of shocking and alarming that we're just sitting on monies that are not being spent, you know, and we need to be able to show the taxpayers where their bonding monies are going to. Yeah. So for me, it's just, you know, we're at year 6, or we might be going to year 7. You know, we need to expedite these projects, because I'm thinking how much we ask for bond for these projects and how much, they've actually increased on costs, you know, for materials and all of that. So I mean, we're way behind. This is something that needs to be looked at very soon, you know. And yes,
Mr. Chairman, may I make an observation? Part of this bonds originally, when you got promoted, okay, it included a major part of that bond money for a building dealing with the oil and gas facility, which was going to be built on campus, but it also included incredible equipment that was quite expensive. And I know, in this case, I know Mr. Cepeda can provide some additional information, because we personally went to see one of those facilities with the then President, Dr. Maldonado. And to be quite candid, we were fortunate that it was decided not to build this, because then we would have had a building that frankly would have had negligible use, and it would have been money that was not properly used for the benefit of this college. So frankly, we're very fortunate that that did not happen. And now we do have these other facilities that actually are going to bring in major revenue to our college. And that, of course, was the right decision that was done in this case by Dr. Solis.
Sure. Yeah. Mr. Adel?
Mr. Rear, if I can, if there's changes to the master facility plans moving forward, as they weren't originally done, or whatever was originally decided back when the bond was presented to the public, those contractors that you mentioned that are there, any changes that are made in the future continue on with those same contractors, or is the college allowed to go out for bids with other contractors?
Yeah. We've looked at that a couple of times a few years ago. The selection of Leindecker Construction was to be the general contractor for the phase 3 construction project. And when the assignment was made, it was done in a sense to give him the entire phase 3 project. So his projects have been modified, added, changed. My understanding is administration is consulted with bond counsel on that, because there's a question about whether or not that can be done, but he's approved all the projects. And so the same contractors, if you decided to go with another general contractor, you would have to procure that service. And that would involve going out for bids, because you couldn't just select another contractor. And it could be done. It's
And
just,
well, but my main concern is there was one contractor that was out there that merged with another, and so why did we just approve that new contractor that was already there instead of going out for?
now that contractor, that one contractor is the general contractor, but I think those two entities are architects.
Okay.
And they're the ones that merged, yeah, and so, as Mr. Vela had mentioned, and I think this merger, like, literally just occurred within the last 30 or 60 days, but it was two architects that were on the approved list, and then both of them joined together to form one business entity. And my understanding is that the board is going to have to assign those contracts to that new entity. But it's the same contract, it's the same architects, it's just they form.
I understand, but has that language been brought forward to the board for approval?
I don't believe that.
So then everything that they're doing right now, sorry.
Go ahead.
So everything that they're doing now, since it hasn't been done with board approval, is that still viable?
Well, it's the same architectural company, just another name. It's a business entity.
So
But
the same tax ID number as it was before?
it's going to be, I don't have the details of the assignment. It was very recently brought to my attention, but my understanding is that would be a different tax ID.
So then it would be a completely different company.
It's a completely different company.
So then this new company is not on the approved vendors list?
That entity was only very recently created, and that list was assigned a few years back, over 6 years ago.
So is it something we need to look at?
Well, when it was brought to my attention very recently, I suggested that an assignment be made, and that happened actually with the contractor. So Linedecker Construction, this happened about 3 or 4 years ago. They changed business entities. They had, their company was called Linedecker Construction, Inc. And for tax reasons, they created another entity, Linedecker Construction of Texas. The board approved that assignment, and that entity is.
So both on the contracting company and the architectural company, like Mr. Delgado said, their tax IDs are.
Yeah, but again, the board approved that all was disclosed to the board when it happened, and the board approved.
So they approved the new Linedecker.
That's right. That's right.
But on the architectural side, we have not.
And yes, and again, I understand that's a very, very recent development.
Okay. Now, if I understood correctly, I'm sorry.
That's right.
He did mention 3 architectural firms that were approved.
It was a total of 4.
4?
It was a total of 4.
So should we be sharing the wealth with all 4? Or should we just be assigning to one?
Well, that would be a board decision and administration decision,
Okay.
for sure. And my understanding is that Mr. Bell may have some knowledge, and Dr. Solis about this, but at some point during the course of the master plan facilities construction phase 3 project, that was delegated to the college president. So the board, in other words, delegated the authority, said, here's a pool of architects, you choose what architects get the project. That delegation was done by the board through a vote.
One question on the bond past the 5th year. Are we paying any fees or anything, or how would that work, Mr. Vela, if we're exceeding the 5 years that you're saying, 5, 6 years?
Currently, right now, our interest rate, the interest rates are actually, again, low. So fortunately for us, we have not gone into that situation where we have to pay back some of that money. Again, every year we do a review and it's submitted. We have a third-party company that comes and reviews the bonds, does a calculation, and determines whether there's a penalty on the interest that is being generated by those funds. But so far at this point, there have been no penalties.
Chair?
Yeah, Mr. Solis?
No, on the contrary. In fact, we have benefited from being very prudent, this board, and allowing us to wait and evaluate and allow administration to prioritize. And we're very fortunate we're glad that we did that and being visionary and anticipating changes instead of going along with the original proposal of the bond monies that were done 6 or 7 years ago. And I'm glad that we did that, and the board was allowed us to do that because there were several projects there that at this time would not make any sense, to put it nice, straightly, to build, such as the oil and gas, such as the Union building. I can go on and on projects that at the time when they were conceived made sense. But it's a good thing that this board, we waited and we prioritize and reassess what our needs are. And that is why we have a surplus of bond money still available, which is allowing us to do, especially this trucking, this transportation project and others. And so it allowed us to do even some smaller ones from the cosmetology. I can go on and on other projects that allowed us to go into programs that we'd never anticipated. And so I'm glad that the board and the visionary anticipating. And thirdly, I'd like to mention also that by waiting, also we lowered substantially the rate. As you recall, we had in detailed report the interest rate. And on top of that, we also generated interest as well from those bonds. So it's been a win-win. It's a good decision on the board to await it this time. But yes, I agree with your original statement. We need to move faster so to deliver on the goods, on the promises we made to the community and use some of their taxpayers' money for the benefit of the community. Thank you.
Any questions?
I think is that, we don't have another presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we have another presentation.
Sorry. It's not in the end, but.
Good evening, board members. It's Orlando Cepeda, Director of Plant Operations and Maintenance, for the record. What I want to do is go over briefly as I can, our current physical plant projects. Got five ongoing projects and a new project that we're trying to propose. As was mentioned before, the water lines installation portion of the project is complete. All meter installations are back in service. City inspection has also been completed.
Need new mics.
The project cost was about $430,126. The only pending item is a sidewalk restoration between the Arechica Hall and the administration annex building. That's a projected cost of another $20,000 that was not part of the original scope. Funding for the portion of the project is pending. In between those two buildings is where Homer might have mentioned that we pre-laid some 4-inch conduit for the movement of the IT center to the Martin building that came right down the middle. So I'll show some pictures here. We basically started at the athletic housing, came around and connected some. The reason for that, actually, this project was to replace old cast iron pipe that had not been addressed since, I guess, when the stamp was formed. So it took us about a year and a half to survey where all this pipe was and what it was servicing. And we abandoned some pipe, replaced obsolete fire hydrants. And so it was quite a complex project that we accomplished. And so the city is happy with what we did. The other project is in the central plant. We had to replace the secondary pump, which is kind of like a backup pump to that circulates sugar water on all the connected buildings. And You'll see the picture, it was failing, the valves were not holding. And to do that, we had to isolate the chiller tank and the thermal tank, and but the valves were stuck, so we didn't try to force them. So we now we decided that we have to replace those valves, and it's we're doing a special what they call like we were freezing sections of the line to stop the tank from draining, and so. Then once we get that done, we can then do the pump replacement. It's a by board cost done by Train, a total of $116,082. Valves is $161,000, and the pumps about $55,000. We're given actually this morning a window of mid-May. It'll probably take us a whole weekend to do both projects, both installations. Here's a picture of the picture on the right is the two tank lines coming in, and those valves you see there is the ones that are frozen open. We can't close them. And then in the middle is the old pump there. It's all rusted up. It's failing, it's leaking. So on the left is the new one that's pending installation. As you all recall, the winter storm in late February, we had considerable amount of damage to actually, we were lucky. We had 3 air handlers in the Cigarra Science Complex, and we now are in the process of restoring the air handlers and and doing some ducting work. And well, of course, that night we have to do a lot of cleanup, and so it's quite a mess. The by board cost to do all the repairs is $194,700. The estimated air handler coil arrivals is at the end of May. Repairs are estimated to be completed by the end of June. But in the meantime, we've been doing replacement of ducting, all the equipment that got damaged and all that. So by the end of June, we'll have that whole wing back up to service. Here's some pictures that are pretty dramatic. That picture in the middle with the waterfall is actually the water pouring from this. As usual, this always happens in the wrong place. It happened in the second floor air handler. So that was a leak, and then you'll see on the left the leaking air handler, and pouring out into the hallway, and down into the first floor, and the culprit was that a picture up on the right is all those are coil. It's like a radiator on your car. You know, we pump water through them, and they run air through them to chill the air. And that was the only one we could take a picture of. But you see the tube ruptured, and we were lucky actually because we know other universities like Texas State, they lost 22 air handlers. We only lost 3. UT Rio Grande lost 61. As a result, all these cores that you see, the one that's ruptured, they're all back ordered, and we can't expedite it. So it's taken us this long to get the parts and the cores in. Then we got these 2 building interior build out of P14. We're working on a lease agreement with Imagineering of South Texas. Project cost is like $650,000, $480,000 by the college, and the Imagineering is going to pitch in $170,000. Funding for the project is allocated from under the Facilities Master Plan Phase 2. Construction timeline after the lease agreement is finalized is about 9 to 10 months. The Imagineering has already gotten a temporary extension for a year at the mall at some more reduced rate. The P24 retrofit, we're working on a lease agreement with the Department of Public Safety. This project will cost about $220,000. Initial cost to be covered by college general operating funds. The cost will be reimbursed by DPS. Construction timeline is 4 to 6 months after the lease agreement is finalized. This is a new proposed project. It's the MFA, the Martinez Fine Arts Auditorium HVAC system is 21 years old. So we've already done studies on what the different options we have. The base option is just replace all the interior HVAC equipment and the exterior standalone chiller plant. That cost is projected to be at 1.7 to 2 million. Now we have what I would call a best option is for energy savings is to install a second thermal tank, connect and consolidate the MFA, the LEAC, and the DPA under one chiller plant with thermal storage tank, using the expanded LEAC and visual performing arts chiller plants. Currently, the LEAC and the visual performing arts have a separate aerial system, and the MFA also has its own separate. So these plants are not as efficient as like what we have connected to the rest of the campus. The cost to install a thermal tank and do all of the connecting is about 4.9 to 6 million. Now, part of the scope of getting like if we go up for the first base project, Train has also said that we'll do a study to tighten up the numbers and also look at the economics. Now, a third option would be like technically doing option 2, but without the thermal storage tank. The projected cost is 3.6, 4.5 million. Pending is the funding source. Now, the reason I'm thinking say that the second option is good is that we realize a lot of energy savings by how we run the chiller operation that's connected to the rest of the buildings. These 3 buildings comprise about 25% of the square footage of the campus. So we're basically not protected from ERCOT rates variations when there's these 4CP rate. They ask us to cut the consumption, which we can't, between the hours of 3 and 7 o'clock at night, and June, July, August, even September. Those 3 buildings keep running. What we do with the way we operate the rest of the system is that we operate the chiller, we generate chiller water. We have a 1.25 million gallon tank. We operate the high horsepower chiller plants, generate chiller water, and during the day, we just circulate that water we use at a much less consumption of horsepower. So we're able to and also we use our EMS energy management system that we installed about 2015 to do. We can do building controls, zone controls, areas that are not being used, buildings not used, we shut them down. But we don't have that. We don't have that option in those 3 buildings. Those 3 buildings have to run 24/7. So the idea is to connect them all and do the same thing we do at 25% of the campus that we do with 75% of the campus. Over the long haul, we have seen the savings we've realized from the way we operate the current chiller plant. So we could probably duplicate this thing and probably realize we'd have to do a more in-depth analysis, but we're pretty certain that the second option would probably pay for itself. I mean, it wouldn't be a payout like a corporate would want 3 or 4 years, but we're going to be around for a long time. It might be 10 years, 12 years at payout. So there's the one picture. The other issue with the MFA is that the systems that are Johnson controls are not like the rest of the two campuses is trained. That system is obsolete. The controls, Johnson controls are obsolete. We can't get parts for the control system. That's the control panel for the MFA. It's all so. Anyway, that's. Any questions?
Any questions? How much work is being done in-house from both ends, from Mr. Price and Mr. Cepeda, on like any of these projects? Are any of them being done in-house?
We do. I couldn't tell you exact numbers, but we do. We have quite a good crew of technicians, carpenters and painters and electricians and all that. We do a lot of the work, but what we can't, when it becomes a little bit bigger than our capacity, we usually use, we have a group of small time contractors that we can contract, and we bid out, if it's over a certain amount, we bid out to smaller contractors to do some specific work, electrical work, or HVAC work, things like that. But our HVAC contractor, happily is Vigor. So we do a lot of work with them. They're like top 3 international industrial air conditioning company in North America. So, but we do quite a bit. I mean, a lot of repairs and alterations in all the buildings. We do it ourselves: paint, carpentry, electric, stuff.
It's more like specialized work, the one that you subcontract out.
It's just, some of these old houses, you walk in and you kind of look around. What do we do? But our guys are pretty adept at fixing. They just think, okay, we need to do this and that, and they go in there and I'll give you, for instance, when we did the P9 residence home, we got a bid to do it for about 1.3 million. Yeah. And I think we did it like for under 500,000. About 500,000, 400 something. Yeah. But it goes like that for a lot of the buildings. And one of the benefits out of that we do a lot in-house is that our guys like to do that. They like to get out there and work and do a lot of this, and they're happy. We keep them happy doing that.
The pride in their work definitely shows around campus. And sorry, Chair, if I may, I wanted to ask, and I don't know if this has ever been considered, discussed, but I know the current president of the Biden administration talks about a lot about green energy initiatives. Has that ever been discussed or analyzed, surveyed in any way as far as we're here? If any possibilities do exist with regards to green energy initiatives?
I'm sorry, with the mask.
Green energy initiatives, as far as solar, wind, anything of that sort, has ever been discussed? I know it talks a lot with the Biden administration.
Like solar panels, and in fact, I think we may have an option if there's a solar farm being built. We may, when we renegotiate our electricity contract, we may ask that we get part of that supply in here.
You're referring to the one from Webb County?
Pardon?
Are you referring to the one from Webb County?
Yeah.
I believe they just initiated a contract with
yes.
land somewhere out.
We have looked at it, and probably as time goes by, we might look at more buildings to put solar panels on some of these buildings that we could take advantage of. But yes, that in the future, I think is going to be something we're going to seriously look at.
And when? When?
I can't give you a second, but soon.
All right.
When's our contract up with electricity?
I believe we just renewed it last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah, so.
Okay. All right. And then I guess, Chair, if I may, just with regards to the Imaginarium, I know it's board has been told that the leasing agreement is in the process. When is the ETA on that for completion, or at least presentation.
We just, and I happen to be on the board, and we just kind of like detailed at least the basic terms
Okay.
that we're going to propose to the college. We've discussed it already, but the board of the Imagineering approved the basic bullet points and
You're requesting.
tomorrow or the next day I'm going to visit with Rusty to begin that process. We're hoping we don't get a very complicated contract.
Definitely. And construction start date, do we have that?
Actually, we've already kind of started. We're coming in with the sewer connection already. We have actually started surveying where we're going to hook up that building because it had an old connection, again, cast iron and all that. So we found another source, and we're going to come in from on the end of the highway because we're also relocating the 2 bathrooms to one end of the building, and so we're coming in from that end. And so our guys already looked at that, and we're all, and in fact, that cost has already been. We're the one that generated that cost with some, HVAC subcontractor, electrical subcontractor. It's big enough that we're going to oversee it, but we have small little contracts with some of the local contractors.
With that being said, so then your staff is going to be working on that project.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Exactly. Primarily, we'll be using our internal staff.
It's just the specialized, I guess, technical things that they might do, like the elevator and all that. That's specialized on just subcontracting out.
The elevator is kind of like a standalone thing, like a tower. It doesn't depend on the structural of the building. It's like a tower they put in with a foundation, and it's complete.
When is that MOU coming to the board?
This week. In fact, you see on 9E, that will be a discussion and action to move forward. The next step, what you see here, using our master facilities plan to savings, that's our bond money for the interior renovation, P14, and delegating authority to administration to negotiate the lease agreement with the Imagineering.
So it's on this,
yes, in 2 days. Once we get that finalized with legal, we will continue accelerate the pace of the renovation.
Any questions?
Can I ask a question? On the MFA, Dr. Solis, have we looked into if we have bond money to start working on that?
What that is,
it's a beautiful facility, and I know in the past we have leased it out, and I'd hate to be leasing it out and then the AC goes out.
that is a concern. That's why we were addressing it, although we knew about this issue a year before the pandemic, but because of that, we haven't used it. But that's why we're looking at the options, as you correctly pointed out. We know that it's 20 years old, the HVAC needs to be replaced.
Well, we just heard that we have some bond money. I mean, can we use that type of bond money to be able to? Can you go back to that slide just to see how much it was?
Yes.
So can we use bond money?
We're currently working on the funding. We have looked at utilizing phase 3 bond money. However, based on the projects that have been allocated, we would not have enough to do option 2. So right now, there is word that we're receiving another round of CARES Act funding that may be used for this type of retrofits or so we're looking at that, if that funding is available for us to be able to use towards this project. Again, that's right now preliminary, but as far as bond money, we have identified, but like I mentioned, right now, we would be only able to cover possibly option 1, which would be just replacing the equipment.
Exactly.
Do you honestly think that the CARES Act will allow us to invest in this?
I know that that there's a component there for air quality that allows for upgrades to HVAC systems. Again, I don't know at this point, I don't have all the details. It may be that we may not be able to do option 2 with CARES Act money, but we could free up the 1.7 to 2 million for the equipment out of and purchases out of the CARES Act, and do the rest with the bond money that has been freed up. So again, those are the options that we're looking at right now. Again, utilizing bond money from phase 3, and possibly using some of the CARES Act from round 3. But again, we have not received that yet.
It's something that we need to look at, especially if we're over the years of that bond. I mean, I think let's just use the money into, like you said, you know, the oil didn't work out. Well, then let's just invest it into the current buildings that are being utilized, you know, or that we're looking into being utilized within the future. I mean, so we could spend that money. And that's my opinion.
Yes, we agree. It's a difficult decision, which is why we have waited. Now, the CARES Act money, it has baffled us many times in a good way, because it has surprised many of my other colleagues at other colleges that they eventually do get specific projects funded, like the number 1, as you were pointing out. That perhaps I see that as a better possibility than the second one. Because it's a much larger project that entails many buildings to get the CARES Act. However, for the number 1, the 2 million for just a standalone HVAC for the MFA is more possible. It's just right now we're waiting to make sure we get clarity. I'm optimistic that it will be, but we again, there's 100%. And now, on the other hand, we could be able to get some monies from our bond money to move for the number 1 again only. A standalone for the MFA, because that is correct, a very valuable asset that the college that nobody else in Laredo has, and we don't want to let it go down. Fortunately, we haven't had to use it for the past 12 months, but we need to get ready.
We need to, yeah, you just mentioned it right now, Dr. We need to get ready for it, because it will start to getting used. So we need to be ready for that. Any other questions?
I mentioned that Train has offered to do a more in-depth study to get the numbers tighter and possibly even a payout on realizing the second option. I strongly think that's probably the best option, so that we can then have the whole campus under what we call shedding the load in the night. And we realized a lot of savings with the way we operate the rest of the campus, but we were exposed with those 3 buildings.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, sir.
And I want to go ahead and thank Mr. Pais and Mr. Cepeda. Great presentation. And motion to adjourn.
Second.
So motion by Mr. Herrera, second by Mr. Cepeda. Thank you all.